Hey, what's up, everybody? So, I wanted to share my experience in boot camp, more of like my story on how I got reverted. Because a lot of people share like what their experience was like and like the details of like, just boot camp in general and like what to prepare for and things like that. But I just wanted to share a story on like how I got reverted, what that was like for me, and maybe you guys would catch on things that you guys find useful or how to prevent things. But basically, it's just a fun story, and it could also be some learning involved. Uh, if you're getting ready to go to boot camp and you're worried about maybe getting reverted, or if this is your first time hearing about getting reverted, it's possible. Basically, they just push you back to give you more time to learn and things like that. So I'll go ahead and tell you guys how I got reverted in the United States Coast Guard boot camp. I was in the Delta company and I got reverted to the Echo company. So yeah, so basically, I'm flying out from California. It's my first time going to a military branch. I'm pretty new at this whole military world at this time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have family. Well, actually, no, I had a brother that's in the Marines, but I don't know too much about it. I've never been really involved with the ranks and like how things are done and the the politics in it and just everything. I don't know anything. So I'm getting ready to go in the service, and I'm like, and the service is something I never thought I would do. I would just like, I'll never join the service. That was my reaction. Like, if anyone ever brought anything up to me, like, oh, you're gonna go to the active duty, like, no, that was never gonna happen. Anyways, I get my boot camp date, and I'm like, all right, it's time to go. So I go to the USO. Um, by the way, I have some like notes here to try to keep me on track. So if you see me staring there, it's just to kind of keep me on track. But I went to the USO, which is basically like a lounge for military, and I go there. I catch a flight from California to I think Philadelphia or something like that. I'm not sure exactly where. And I went to the USO there to the lounge, and I was hanging out there. And it's my first time arriving in there. They have some snacks for us, and I'm just like, okay, like this is not too bad. And then I look around, and I'm seeing like a bunch of young people, and I'm like, damn, what did I do? Um, and I'm seeing everybody like studying like their pocketbook and stuff like that. And I'm like, damn, I wonder what they're studying for. Anyways, so then we take a plane and we arrive to, no, I think that's when I arrived to Philly. And I think from Philly, we took a bus down to Cape May. And basically, on that bus ride, I think I've told you guys before, I was sitting next to this, one of my shipmates. It's this girl, and she's studying her pocket guide or her Helms book, and she's studying it. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, well, you got to know your 11 general orders, and I think it's 11 general orders. And she's like, yeah, because they're gonna ask you all this knowledge, blah blah blah. And I was like, what? Like like I didn't know I had to prepare for this. I didn't even know I had to like review these stuff. And so I'm sitting there and I'm looking at these and I'm like, oh my gosh, like how am I gonna remember all this like in such a short gap? Like I'm gonna be in boot camp in like 2 hours. So so we arrive, to boot camp, and the whole process. It's in doc week, and I'm getting yelled at, and they gave us like 3 days where you can kind of. I remember the CCs would be like, "Hey, like you guys better take this time to study because you're not gonna have time later." So I'm like looking at things, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like it's a whole book, and I'm like, how am I supposed to know all this stuff? Like, and it's my fault. It's my fault because I should have like reached out and asked somebody for the helmsman book earlier. But anyways, it was kind of funny because I'm like panicking and I'm trying to get all this things. So anyways, right after indoc, we form into our company, and that's when I get assigned Delta Company. And Delta Company was a huge company. I'm talking about like we were a huge company, and man, we had some great people in there. Some really really great people, and I met some really good guys there, and they're still my friends, and they're awesome. And So I'm in Delta Company, and our CCs, we have four CCs. No, three CCs. No, it was four. Three. Three CCs. Sorry, it's because I was in two companies, so it kind of gets confusing. Echo Company had a lot more CCs than Delta. But anyways, we had this guy that had this thick mustache, and this guy was mean. When he was there with us, you knew we were gonna get sweated. You knew like things were gonna get dirty. And then we had another CC that was more like laid back. Oh yeah, it was four CCs. So uh, we had this guy that was really laid back, super nice guy. I really, when we saw him, we were like, thank goodness. And then we had this other, we had this female CC, but she had really short hair, and and then we had the lead CC who was really awesome. This guy had like tattoos. He looked like a rocker, and so we we were forming. We go into our I guess like our building where we're going to be assigned to, and that's where we basically sleep, and we have our racks there and everything. So we're there, and things take their toll, and while I'm there, basically like you go through the phases of like you're trying to I'm still trying to learn everything, but I'm also trying to like figure things out. Like I need to pass a fitness test. I need to figure boot camp out, like how to talk to CCs, or how to even just like trying to wiggle around things, not like just trying to figure things out. And but at the same time, I'm trying to catch up with knowledge. Like every week you have an expected amount of knowledge that you're required to know. So I'm trying to like catch up, and like they test your knowledge when you go to like lunch, or in general they can basically ask you, depending on your CC, they can ask you pretty much any question at any time. So um basically when I arrived to Delta, I think like the first week we're choosing jobs, and it was so funny. We had our lead CC kind of like in the center, and he's just like, all right guys, like who wants to be the watch coordinator, or who wants to be the historian? And I'm thinking like, I thought because like it was like if you volunteer for a job, it was like, okay, then you won't get ass sweated. But being honest with you, you're gonna get sweated, and I think even if you have a job or not, you'll get sweated. But there is some leverage you do get. I think having a job, there is sometimes you actually do get out of sweat. That happened to me once. One time, one time. Anyways, well, let me get to this first. But anyways, so I volunteered, and I was gonna be a watch coordinator, and it was so funny because people were like volunteering for jobs, and the lead CC is like, well, why should we basically like why should we hire you? And then people would be like, well, I pay attention to detail, or I've been a lead, or I've been a fitness trainer for this long, or like depending on the job, like people would stand up and then kind of give like a reason why they should be that guy. That's how they did it in Delta, at least. I don't know if this is for every company. And it was so funny because like there was this one job, I think it was the mail person. Um, this person was responsible for like getting the mail for the company and like doing all that. And it was a guy, and he was like, yeah, like I've done this and the third. And the guy's like, and our lead petty officer, he's like, Roger, all right, like you got the job. And then this girl stands up, and she gives the reasons why she thinks like mail is important and communication with family is important. And then he like immediately fires that other guy. He's like, you're fired. And then you're hired. And it was just so funny because it was like, they're just like doing anything they want to us. And um, so anyways, I was a watch coordinator. So basically, if you are having like any job in boot camp, means that you are gonna have a little bit more face time, which can be like a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing because if you do your job right, they'll trust you more, and then you get a little bit more leeway, and they know that you're okay. But it can be a bad thing if you aren't on your shit, you don't know your shit too well, and then it can be room for them to even notice you more, and really you become a target, which is kind of what happened to me. So I was a watch coordinator, and the watch coordinator, I was in charge of like basically like accountability for each rack. Everyone had to have this and the third, and I had to have all the names of everyone that lived in like each squad bay. And I also had to make we had to make a schedule. It was me. It was like it was like two other people that worked with me. It was some girl and some other guy, and we had to make a schedule for the rotation of the watch. And I didn't even know what that was about because night you have to stand duty basically or watch um, every night. Well, not every night. It like rotates, but like I didn't know what that was like for like the first 4 weeks because I was a watch coordinator, so I didn't know what that was like. But once I went to Echo and wasn't the watch coordinator, excuse me, I started to feel what that was like, and man, standing watch sucks to be honest. Like sometimes you can get it like at 3 in the morning, and they go to wake you up, and you have to get up and change and be shaved and go out to watch, and basically you just you're like security, making sure that everything's safe. Um, but I didn't know what that experience was like, so I only made the schedule. But as I was the watch coordinator, I there was the my CC, the one that had really short hair. This is kind of how things started to go bad for me and how I was started to get noticed. Um, the CC that had short hair, basically, it was hard at night to tell which CC was coming because the lights would be off, and we would work on the night schedule really late. When everyone would go to bed, we would stay awake another hour, and we would work on the schedule or stuff like that. And one day I'm there and I'm talking to like the YNs. I mean, sorry, not the YNs, the yeomen. And because the yeomans had another job that they had to take care of. And then the historian was over there writing stories about what happened that day and stuff. So I'm sitting there, not sitting there, I was standing there and I'm working on some stuff, trying to get the schedule going. And I just hear someone walking up the ladder well. Um, and they're walking up and I like go to attention and I'm like, "Good evening, sir." But it was her, but I thought it was a male. So it right away, I what the hell did you just call me? Blah blah blah. I got yelled at. Freaking! I was just like, I didn't know what it was because it was so dark that I thought it was a male, but it was a female. So I said basically, "Sir," to a ma'am, and I got yelled at. Got my tracker pulled, and I was like, "Damn." And then like you can tell that everyone's just like laughing at me pretty much because I just messed that up so bad. But it was hard to tell because they would wear like PT gear, so you didn't know who it was, and so that kind of started that. So I kind of like that. I think I kind of got that person at that CC upset, and so we're like about like the third week here, so people are starting to already get reverted. Basically, you get reverted for like knowledge gaps or like just really crazy things like being out of your rack late or stealing or having like I forgot what those snack bars are that they give you, but like food basically in your rack. Um, Anything can basically being disrespectful, talking back, not doing your exercises or stuff like that. So I'm like I'm getting noticed now by this CC because of this thing that happened. So now um, we're going to get lunch, breakfast, and dinner every day, and that's pretty much the time when they can like really hammer you with knowledge. Like, so a trick that we would do or that everyone would do is so funny because like through the little breaks when we would get sweated and we'll talk, it was like you talk to like your shipmates and you're just kind of like, damn, bro, like they fucking, or sorry, excuse my language. They always get me like when I'm like at lunch, blah blah blah, and then they'll always tell you like the tricks that people do. So basically, like you are when you're going into the galley, everyone's in line, and you got tight fist and like you're walking and looking straight, and you have your tray right here until you get to you grab your food, and then once you grab your food, you don't see the CCs no more till you exit from grabbing food. And once you exit from grabbing food, you go grab some water. And when you grab some water, you're kind of like, you grab your cup and you put the water you want, and you kind of look, and you kind of look to the left, and you just see like CC, like three CCs standing there. Like all of our CCs would just stand there, and basically like whoever's next in line, if the CC's not already yelling at someone, then you're pretty much next. So it was a guarantee. So you would hope that when you grab your tray, that there's someone in front of you already grabbing their water, because you knew as soon as they left, that was your time to go. So I'll go and I'll grab my drink and I'll be like, all right, and I'll look, and then this person's already about to go, and I'm like, cool. And my cup wouldn't even be filled up; it'll be like halfway, and I'll just be like, and then boom, as soon as the CC's like, what is this? To this person, like you try to circle around, but sometimes it would still get you, because there'll be two CCs there blocking like that stream that everyone's trying to get through to go eat. Because once you made it to sit down, that's when you were safe. So people would just circle around, but then another CC will sometimes stand like right in the middle where the tables divide in the galley, and that's where they'll catch you again. But anyways, I started to get targeted. Not targeted, but it was my fault. I didn't know the knowledge. I was struggling with like the shoulder boards, the chain of command, and stuff like that. I was getting a bunch of stuff wrong. And basically, I started to get noticed a little bit, I think. And that CC that didn't like me, that lady, I don't think it was on purpose. I don't think she didn't even like me. I don't think she noticed me too much at first, but basically I was getting questions wrong. And I think they started to pick up that I didn't know a lot of things in the booklet for the required knowledge. So then it was so funny because we also had like every morning I had to square the hatch to give it to my lead petty officer, to give him the watch coordinator schedule, and he had to approve it, or the notes, and he had to approve it. But he would shred them every time. If he found one error or two errors, he would shred it. Boom, 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 just shred it. You're like, freak. And so that's how I also started to get noticed by my lead petty officer, like by like making those mistakes. And like, so I was always kind of like, and then it was like someone had to take the fall, because sometimes people didn't want, because like as soon as we never had anything perfect, like nothing was ever perfect. And that's just kind of like the tactic, you know? And so like, no matter what I did to try to make things work and do things, things can be as perfect, and they would still shred it. But someone had to get yelled at, because if we did not give that schedule or give that report in the morning, we weren't doing our job. And if we weren't doing our jobs, there was multiple times where like everyone would get sweated because they're waiting for us to complete our job. So it was like, we were like, you know, like, do your job, shipmate, do your job. And like everyone's like holding up a canteen or doing some kind of getting sweated, while you are not getting sweated, and you're trying to do this whole thing and rewrite it while everyone is getting sweated. And everyone knows that it's because you're not doing your job. Not just me, but it was like all, whether it was the YN or the watch coordinator or whoever it was, like basically they were getting sweated while you're trying to do your job. But realistically, like you were never gonna get it right. Like everyone was gonna get sweated regardless. So, so I'm like rushing to study. I'm like taking time to study. I'm really stressing out, and basically, I go into the restroom at night, because I tell one of my friends like, hey, like, can you help me out? So he's trying to show me like, hey, yeah, no, like the shoulder boards are like this, or he's trying to like put me up like on the knowledge. And he was like my running mate. And basically, one night it was past taps, and we were basically we couldn't be out of our racks unless you had to use the head. And so I'm studying, and a CC comes in. What are you guys doing? Blah blah blah. So they take my tracker, and again, so now I'm noticed like, if you get your tracker pulled enough, they hold onto it. And I think they have a folder. And basically, if like at the end of the week, their folder you have a lot of trackers, whether from knowledge gaps or whatever you do to get in trouble, that's how they kind of like judge like, okay, this person's falling behind. So I was starting to collect trackers like on the daily. And it was kind of cool because we would always talk about that. Like, dude, I got 3 trackers pulled today, or I got 4 trackers pulled, or I got 1 tracker pulled. So if you went like 2 days or 3 days without getting a tracker pulled, it's really good. So then, um, so I got in trouble for that. And then I'm like, damn. So then that night, I'm like talking to, I'm doing the watch coordinator stuff again. And again, someone walks up the ladder well. And I don't know why. I messed up again. I said, "Good evening, sir." And it was that lady CC again. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm screwed. There's nothing I can do. Like, twice now, like, now she's going to think that I'm being disrespectful or something. But I really wasn't. I genuinely just couldn't. I don't know. I got nervous. I don't know. So, it was like close to the 4th week of boot camp now, which by the way, if I made it this far, I did pretty good because there was a lot of people that got reverted like before me. And it was the end of the week, and Delta was so big that they were going to try to shrink the company, I think. So they were looking for people to mess up. So then it was that week where our section commander would come in, I think like once a week, and he would do rack inspections. And you knew when the section commander came in, it was like you were done. Like if things aren't like squared away, your racks or things aren't done right, or there's something not folded correctly in your rack, like you were cooked. Like you can get a red belt or get reverted on the spot. So everyone was locked in. We were like trying not to make mistakes as he's doing inspections. But at the same time, you knew there was going to be red belts going out. So our section commander comes, and sure enough, they start reading off the names, and freaking, I get my name called out, and I'm like, damn, man, like a red belt. A red belt meant you were screwed. Like you're basically sink or swim. Like red belt, basically, it's like a target on you, and you have this red belt around you, and you're just kind of like a target for them. So now they're looking to see if you made progress or if you haven't made progress throughout that week. And if you didn't, you can get reverted. And I think they check like on a Wednesday. So I got my belt, I think like on a Saturday or a Friday. And so I'm stressed out. Like I'm trying to study as much as I can, but every week I'm having to know more knowledge. And I'm just like, dude, like I don't know. I just like, it was so new to me, like all this, and you're trying to like stay afloat and you're trying to like keep up. And sometimes you just like, what can you do? Like I was done. So I'm trying to study and I'm trying to do my best to learn all this required knowledge. And basically what happens, that nice CC that I was telling you guys about, that nice one, he comes in and they evaluate you like towards the night. So we're like getting smoked, and I'm holding my canteen up, and like, I don't know, saying something like, we need to do better, or something. And as I'm holding it up, the CC, the nice one, he comes in. He's nice, but he's still like, has to do his job too. So he's like, Seaman Recruit Henry. And then I was like, and then he's like, what is your chain of command? And I'm trying to like say I'm trying to like say my chain of command, right? Of course, I messed it up. He's like, what is this? And I'm just up there like, and like, I'm just messing it. I'm bombing everything. Everything he tells me, like, what is this? What is that? Like, I'm just bombing it. And like, it's so embarrassing because everyone's there listening to you mess up. And it's just so embarrassing. And then he's like, what do you know? What do you know? Like, because I didn't know anything. I didn't really know anything. He's like, what do you know? What do you know? So I was like, petty officer, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I know I think it was the ethos. And he's like, that's it? It was just so funny. And so the next day, after that night, like, I'm talking to the yeoman I don't know why I keep saying yeoman. I was talking to the YN. No, yeah, yeoman. Sorry. Yeah, it's the same thing. So I was talking to the yeomans, and I'm like, preparing the schedule, and I was just like, dude, I'm gonna get reverted. And there was the YNs, the yeomen. They were really sweet. Like they would try to help me, and they'd be like, no, you just gotta remember it like this: the shoulder and signals, blah blah blah. I mean, the shoulder boards and um the ranks, and they were just trying to teach me stuff. They're like, no, you're good, you're gonna be fine. And like while we're there talking, and they're like giving me like kind words and like words of encouragement here, and I'm just like, in my head, I'm just like, dude, like it's any day now because I have a red belt on. Like I'm screwed. So we're looking out the window every Wednesday. It was Wednesday. Um, I think the new company would come in, like whoever's coming to boot camp next. We would always look on a Wednesday, and we'll be like, oh, look, Foxtrot's coming or whatever is next. And we'll be like, damn, man, it would suck starting from the start, blah blah blah. So I kind of was already like, damn, like I'm screwed. So the next morning, it's our fourth week. We're about to take our test. It's like our midterm, kind of like our knowledge based little tests that kind of like you take on the fourth week there. We go to lunch before we take the test. And we are there and, doing the whole thing, grab my tray. I didn't get called on. And I go and I sit down. And I'm like pointing my hand like this to get some salt and put some salt on my food. And I'm eating. And all of a sudden, the section commander comes in. And he comes in and he's like, Super Raku Henry. And I stand up to attention. And he was a chief. I was like, Chief, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, what is your first lieutenant in your chain of command? And I was like, oh man, I'm so screwed. It was so embarrassing too because it's quiet. There's other companies there. It's just so embarrassing. And I bombed it. I don't know what I said. I think I said like the wrong name or something, which I don't know how I did that now because lieutenant was pretty easy to spot out. But so he's like, so I bomb it, I get it wrong, and he's like, when you're done eating, grab your shit and square my hatch. And I was like, damn. Like basically, I knew. He basically said like I was getting reverted, and I was like, dang, like I messed up. So they go on. Everyone goes on to, and you can see because everyone's like eating and like they're telling me like, dude, it was this guy, like this was the lieutenant, dude, like how'd you mess that up? And like you can just tell everyone under their breath as they're eating, they're just like, dude, he's fucked. He's like, he's done. He's done. So everyone goes to take their little midterm, and then I walk back to my building, and then I go to my rack. I start packing everything, put it all in my bag, and then I lift up my freaking bag, and I'm just like, damn. I'm like walking to square the section commander's hatch, and then that one guy, the mustache guy, he was like, by the way, that guy was so mean. He was hard on us. He was like, I think he was like 5'9", but when he would yell to us and sweat us, this guy became like 6 foot tall, like just like. So I'm walking down the hallway, and I see him, and he just yells at me for walking. I was like, what the heck? Like, what can be worse than this? Like, I'm already getting reverted, and one of our CCs is just gonna yell at me. So, anyways, he said, what are you doing here? I was like, oh, section commander, blah, 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 asked me to square his hatch. He's like, get over there. So I go, I square his hatch, like, chief, blah, 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 blah. So he's like, you've made no improvement. He calls me by my name, and he's like, you made no improvement, yelling at me. He's like, so I'm gonna have to revert you. You're going to Echo. And I start crying. No joke. I'm not even messing around. Like I start tearing up. And I'm crying because because it was sad. Like Delta was my company. It was like I got to know some people there, and it was like man, like well, I gotta go, man. So so I was basically reverted at the moment, and I start tearing up, and I'm like crying, and I'm like, Chief, blah, blah, and I'm like, it's that I just I've had a hard time trying to retain all this information while getting yelled at and going through the whole process of boot camp. And he's like, I think for a second he like broke character and he was just like, well, this is why we do this. It gives you more time to study. So being reverted, don't look at it like a bad thing. I think like he wanted like I think he felt bad for me because I was crying. So he like for a quick second he was just basically telling me like this would be good for you. You're gonna go and get more time to study by getting reverted. So yeah, then he kicks me out. So I'm leaving, and I'm walking out, and now I'm heading to a new building, the Monroe, and I'm walking over there. I'm gonna go to Echo now. I'm like, damn, man, like I'm gonna have to call my family and let them know I'm not gonna graduate on time. Um, it just sucked. I was like, damn, I have to do another week again because every minute you spent there, it was just like, damn, when am I getting out of here? So I arrived to Echo, to the building of Echo, and I'm just like there with all my stuff, and I'm just there, and I square the hatch for Echo Company. And this is a whole new company, so I don't know these CCs or anything. Boom, boom. They come out like running almost. And I have two CCs just yelling at me, like, what the fuck are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I think I was out of tension, and I was just like, I didn't even know what to say, and I couldn't read their name. And there was like a saying that like you would say when you don't know how to their name, you would ask them like to give ask for their name so you can address them properly. But I didn't know how to say it, and the guy kept repeating on how to say it, and I was so blown away with everything that just happened that I couldn't. There's no I couldn't retain what he was saying. I just kept messing up, and for like 5 minutes, my ears just got freaking blown out. So then I get yelled at, and that was the start of my new life and Echo Company. So yeah, and then Echo Company was a whole another story. It was pretty cool. Echo was different than Delta. I mean, I know I didn't really go into like how the different companies were as far as like too much in detail, but Echo was really different. And then yeah, but eventually I graduated Echo. But if you guys want to know what happened in Echo, that's a pretty cool story. Those people were great too, and it was awesome. So, but yeah, that was it. And I hope you guys like the story. And that's pretty much how I got reverted in boot camp. So, know your required knowledge. Peace.